All right. Welcome to our top eight draft for the Baldur's Gate Arena Gauntlet League. I'm Richard K. I'm here with Mitchell S. We are looking at Sawyer's top eight draft. So this is probably our most unique mega draft that we've attempted so far, where the players actually start with a mini pack of three uncommon multicolor legends chosen at random uh, that are part of their pool. So those cards could be played just like any card that he drafts during this draft, which consists of six different packs uh, chosen among sets on Arena that contain many legendaries. So what are we looking at here, Mitch, in this pack?
Well, you called me Mitchell S, but I prefer Spaghetti
Yes,
Mitch first.
Spaghetti Mitch.
Uh, I would firstly like to say Monday nights. Good to be back on Monday nights. Richard, what happened last league? We skipped a league here since SNC. Anything
Uh,
special happened in the Eldrin League?
well, I did make a top eight, and I did win that draft here.
Oh, Jay, we have to mention that. Sorry, off the bat here. So, what do we what do we
Yeah.
pick? We
So
can we can
he
go with
so
that.
um so Sawyer took the blood money, which is that 7 mana, destroy all creatures, and then you get a tapped treasure for each one destroyed that way. So that's just a really powerful card. These mega drafts are usually slow enough that in most cases you can make use of cards like that. Uh,
So
so now
I'm gonna
he's
guess it's important to know offhand what Sawyer's three choices are here:
yeah,
Rasad, Jahir, and Victorious.
yeah, exactly. So Rasad and Jahira, which most people are probably familiar with because they're from the most recent set, which was the Horizons Baldur's Gate. Quintorius, maybe people are not as familiar with. That was a white red card from Strixhaven. Wasn't very good in that set. I can't
Awesome name.
imagine he's planning to build around that. So he has an interesting choice here between the Grim Bounty and I think the Viconia, which is a very powerful card.
I imagine I'll probably go for the Viconia.
Yeah. So again, I players are probably looking to upgrade one of their uncommons that they were given off the bat with hopefully a powerful rare. I can say, having done a practice draft a few weeks ago of this format, that a synergistic commander is very important. Just taking a powerful commander and having just individually powerful cards is not as strong as having a synergy based deck where you guaranteed your commander every single game, and you could build around that.
Yeah,
So
the whole league long, we had to get used to having that commander on demand. Right, the turn it's supposed to come down. Sometimes it comes down on turn two every game. Sometimes turn three. But this entire draft is going to come down to that. I'm interested to see how that's going to
yeah, so
play
looks
out.
like looks like Sawyer is going to stick with the black cards here. He's found this rare, the Intellect Devourer. So that's that 2/4 that can your opponent will exile a card under it from their hand, and then as long as the horror is still in play, he'll be able to cast it. Usually, you're just going to get a land or whatever the worst card is, but sometimes if they have one card left in their hand and it's like their 6 drop, then you're in
I'm
business.
not a big fan of that card. It felt like it's going to get a land way more than you want. I mean,
Yeah, so I think Sawyer, as you can see, is pulling up Jahira and all of its modes, as well as Rasad with all of its modes. So again, Rasad is the 2/2 that can exile a creature until it leaves, and then when you flip it on the backside, it gets various effects when it dies. And Jahira is a 2/3 for two, which is already strong with hexproof from enchantments and artifacts. And when you flip it to its other side, you destroy an enchantment or artifact, and then you get a bonus uh, related to the color. We actually saw
sure.
Justin make top eight with that as his commander. It was able to take people off of some of their early game, their mana rocks and other artifacts, enchantments that they needed early in the game. Uh,
There's a lot of enchantment based removal in this set, which is usually pretty good against
yeah,
a commander type thing because it's hard to get it off the field. But it turned out the top decks had ways to get it off the field
yeah. I
anyway. Or
believe he I believe he was the only one to make top eight with an uncommon commander. So
turn two every
everybody
game.
else had a Jan or a polar bear or something else powerful.
Going to stop the aggro if you have a turn two every game. You're not going to get
Yeah.
aggro down very easily.
So it looks like he took the
Um,
steadfast unicorn here. That card was very good in its set. And as a reminder, we are playing with the original versions of these cards as they first appeared on Arena, not the
four
rebalanced
mana.
ones. So he took the
Four
Guildstorm
mana.
Prowler there, which was a premium card before it lost a power and went to a 1/1. Uh, And another reminder, we
I
are drafting a singleton. So there was a second copy of there was another Steadfast Unicorn in that pack. So, normally if you're drafting a white aggressive deck, you grab the second Steadfast Unicorn, but it's a singleton. So he can't play more than one of any card except for basics.
looking at everyone's pools of commanders that they rolled. There's only a couple that rolled 2 specialized commanders, and I think that allows you to be pretty open in the draft because you can pair the monocolor of that specialized commander with any color you want.
Yeah.
Looks like black, green, or black, white is how it's going. Quintoris is probably not going to be the
Yeah, it looks
commander
like he's
used
got
here.
his eye on black white here, either with Rasad or the Viconia, possibly. Though the white cards, they're good aggressive cards, but he can find better things than those cards. So looks like he's keeping on the white plan here, the Valiant Farewell. He looks to be maybe trying to want to be an aggressive deck so far. Um, Again, we've literally never done this format before, so but we can't tell you if aggressive decks are going to be great or not. But
I'm liking
normally
the aspect.
in mega drafts, it's a little more difficult to get a cohesive aggressive deck, just because of
I'm liking the aspect of having to be
yeah.
playing on your feet and improvise how you're going to do this. No one's quite done this before.
Yeah. And just as another reminder, I think most of the players in the league are familiar with how Specialized works in a Brawl deck. Um, when you choose the Specialized card as your commander, you have to choose the second color uh, for it. So you can't play 5 colors. You have so if he chooses Viconia, he would have to choose white as the second color uh, in order to play his deck. You cannot play
Oh,
four
I'm
from
sorry. You could
multiple
choose
colors.
Myconia as your actual commander. I didn't even think of that.
So
Oh,
anything that shows up in the draft, you could use as your commander, which I think, hopefully the goal would be for most people is to open a rare one, since their power
yeah.
level tends to be higher. But a lot of
Late
the
Diamond.
uncommon ones have a really, really good synergies. Um, like something like a Minthara that one of the players opened. Like that card is an extremely potent commander, even though it's an uncommon.
We might see Bear Lazel back in action then.
Ooh. Yeah, well, once the draft is done, we get to look at all the players' pools, and I did write down all the commanders that were opened in those mini packs. So we'll be able to determine whether they stuck with one of their originals or whether they upgraded to another one. So Sawyer he's zeroing in on these black and white cards here very quickly. The Ambushed on the Road, not a premium card, but can make the cut in an aggro deck. Shambling Ghast is a card that has just been a good performer, both when it showed up in AFR and in this set. Um,
Charlie Gas has been awesome. Yeah, more than I even remember from AFR.
yeah, so then again, the Soldiers of the Watch wheels, which would go right into his deck, but unfortunately, he already has one, so it's he'll probably speculate on a card here. I suppose the Gate would probably be the most desirable thing to speculate on.
So you're gonna see some different passes of cards if because of the singleton regulation. Like you're gonna see some strong cards pass when they otherwise would be taken, unless hate drafting happens.
Yeah,
Uh
you
oh,
might see
what
you might
happened?
see some premium removal or some premium creatures
We have
being
Sawyer
passed.
in the channel
Okay.
saying his computer's frozen and asking for a pause from Chris here.
Okay. So we'll wait a moment here. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Trying to get these solved. Sawyer's computer seems to have crashed. So we're going
Happens
to
every time.
we are going to wait a couple moments. Hopefully that gets cleared out. Cleared up. I'm sure the other players are being informed as well.
They're being informed of how many cards their deck has to consist of. It seems also.
Is that a fact?
Yeah.
Yeah. So while we're waiting here, I can quickly go over some of the commanders that were opened by the other players, and we could sort of see if any of them
Yeah, good
stand
idea.
out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
See if any of them stand out. So we had Justin P, who opened Agar the Freezing Flame, which was from Kaladesh. Oh no, from Kaldheim, the blue-red giant. He had Mr.
Giant Lizard
Orfeo,
Synergy, right?
the Boulder, which was it was a Riveteer's gold card, so a 3-color card. that doubled a creature's power when it attacked. And then he had OG, the Exquisite Blade, which was from this set, which was the white-blue commander that cared about blinking things.
Blinky Blinky.
So it looks like we're back in business here. We're into the second pack. So looks like he may have lost the last few picks of the last pack. We do see a Scouting Hawk there in his pile. So we're looking at a pack of Streets of New Capenna here, which has a lot of powerful gold cards, has fixing. Really is gonna. It's actually going to determine a lot. I think there's a lot of legends in this set, and it could determine the direction that he's going. We see a Workshop War Chief, which is just such a great card. He has 2 green cards already in his sideboard. There, he has the Gate to Mannerborn and the Underdark Basilisk. So that might be
2
worth.
white traps that were pretty strong in that set, but it's not. We're not quite playing SNC, but they still should be decent, I would think.
Yeah. Workshop War Chief, I think, is a lot more powerful than those cards, and this early with 6 packs and with the flexibility of having specialized commanders that can be any color, might want to go for the power level here. But it looks like he's going for the Citizen's Crowbar. It looks like he's really.
I probably would have gone for War Chief.
Looks like he's really zeroing in on a black-white, which unfortunately he won't be able to pick up any gold cards in New Capenna. Since New Capenna was based, it was the allied colors that got gold cards in the set. But that being said, he still has some good choices here with Rafine Silencer and a Murder as well.
Crowbar is a fine card. We'll see if War Chief, if we see green being passed to him, maybe War Chief would have been better in the end. But I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to what cards are being passed too hard, to be honest.
Yeah, like if you look at the 4 white cards that he has, I think Workshop War Chief is better than perhaps all of them combined. That's maybe going a couple. That's maybe going a little over the edge, but it's just such an excellent card, and all the other cards are just like commons that take them or leave them. But he's gone for the Silencer here, which is a good one.
Yeah.
So now, if he's staying black-white, not too many really interesting choices here. The Speakeasy Server is a 5-drop flyer that can gain some life. The Patch Up can bring back small creatures up to mana value 3 total.
And we are going to Strixhaven, right? Is there Strixhaven?
They actually replaced Strixhaven.
Oh, yeah.
In our practice draft that we had done, the Strixhaven cards was just the color pairs weren't matching up with what people were doing. And also the fact that you can't make use of the Lesson Learned cards properly. In Brawl, there's no sideboard. So you would have to so all your Learn cards would only ever let you discard a card to draw a card, and all your Lessons you would have to play in the main deck, which was not the point
it makes
of the
sense. Cards. Unfortunately for Sawyer, that actually is a color pair that works in that set in particular. But
yeah, so they replaced it. They replaced it with Ikoria, which is good for all colors. There's gold cards, there's fixing, there's cycling, which is a good smoothing mechanic. Again, here not the best pack for white and black cards here.
Terminate, do it. What do we have? Cabaret? No, there's nothing too good here at all.
Yeah, the Cabaret Courtyard, he can play that in his deck. However, if it was white black, he could only get a plains, but it is a legal card to play.
You can speculate on it, but you can't splash a third color just haphazardly and brawl.
Yeah, unless you have a 3-color commander, you gotta stick to your color requirements here. So he's put the green cards all in a pile there on the left side of his sideboard, just as a maybe Strangle here seems pretty late. I would imagine people would want to pick that up early.
Yeah, the fact that you have to play with these 2 certain colors is going to make a lot of difference when you're looking at gold cards in packs. I guess there's more gold cards far in this than we're going to see in the next.
Most of the sets don't feature too many gold cards at common. This set does have a cycle at least, or 2 cycles. So it looks like he's taking the Celestial Regulator, the white-blue card. So it doesn't have any blue cards to go with it, aside from a couple ones he put in the sideboard at the end of the last pack. So there's a Rafine Silencer, which, like we were mentioning before, can't really make use of.
Revelation of Power did well in this format.
Yeah, Revelation of Power worked particularly well in that set because there was a couple cards that got +1 counters. There was shield counters that worked with it. I remember that it was particularly potent with some of those double strike creatures to get a lot of damage in out of nowhere. But it's a good trick overall. It was just, I think
Looking
it
like
was particularly good in that set. We'll see if it's as good in this format.
so overall, it's looking like black white Rasad is what he's going for. So that the black version of Rasad, on death, it creates a 4/1 black skeleton with menace, and white it kind of just turns the creature that Rasad took into a 1/1.
Yeah, so it takes away its abilities perpetually. So essentially, the backside of Rasad is sort of it's insurance for if your creature dies, because normally when you have those creatures that exile a creature when they come in, when they die, the opponent just gets their creature back. But here you actually get something out of it.
Yeah, it gives you death triggers, but the white version in particular kind of just gets rid of it ultimately.
Yeah, he might also be considering Viconia. Uh, it's a mana
True.
cheaper, and the white side, I believe it. I can't remember all the sides, but
The white side.
I know the
A lot of
blue
people are
side
screaming
is.
at us right.
I know the blue side is the one that's like usually the most powerful because you can get a creature and an instant or sorcery.
Okay, you duplicate one of the exiled cards, and if it has mana 3 or less, it actually goes right onto the
Oh,
field.
you just put it into play. Okay, so still very strong. So he got to dig up the body here, which is it was a good card in its set. You could do some fun things with it. Um, I know Sawyer is been partial to sacrifice decks in the past, so something like dig up the body, he could make use of.
Get lots of value out of it.
Yeah. So while we have a moment here, I'll just talk about Sawyer as a player. I mean, his track record is extremely impressive. I believe this is his fifth top eight in a row, which is astounding. It's very difficult to make top eight. Um, so he did win a Megadraft, but he's yet to win a league. So he's after his first league title here in his fifth consecutive try. And if anybody watched him play his Jan Jansen deck during the league, I know he practiced that a lot. Um, it was quite impressive. He knew that deck inside out, and it was a very, very difficult deck to play. So just
Oh,
want to.
Jan. I don't want to think about Jan Johnson anymore.
You're still having nightmares.
When your commander is just about getting through, these 1/1s are not fun.
Yeah. So we have a good mix of players here in the top eight. We have three players who've made the top eight for the first time in
Yeah.
Oscar, Rafael, and Miranda. And then we have five, we'll say veterans, multiple time top eighters, including Maxime making his, I believe, eighth, which is he's the first one to make eight of these since we've been online for the last 2 years or so.
We're in pack 3. I guess we can go through the list of people. You mentioned Justin, Maxime, Open Furia, the Angel, Lausanne, the Dragon Payoff, and Skanos,
Yeah.
this specialized.
Yeah, the green
Miranda
card.
opened Siona, Minthara, and Hamza.
Yeah, Hamza, I believe, was from Jumpstart. It's a green-white +1 counters commander.
Oh, yeah. Another Siona for Oscar, Ambergis, and Skanos as well. Emmett had Faraday, which is the dice rolling
Yeah, that
payoff.
one. Not so sure about that one.
Shauna and Rocco. Rocco can fit in anywhere.
Yeah, Rocco's a three-color
Crispy.
deck that you can tutor for a creature when it comes in.
Oh, yeah, Rocco. Sorry, I was thinking of the cat and dog creator, but that's a rare.
Yeah, so
Um, yeah.
yeah, so
The
just
other
looking
two
at
are
this pack.
Crispy with Carter. Sorry, I'll just finish off.
Uh,
Carter, Bruno, and Alora for Crispy, and Raphael got Marit, Rocco, and Barrowin, which is a
yeah,
dungeon delving finishing
yeah.
commander.
So Sawyer is looking at this pack. I think looks like he's going to take this rare here, the Loyal Warhound. If you're behind on lands, it'll get you a land into play.
As I was mentioning, what Barrowin is, we saw it in that pack, so that's pretty
Yeah,
fun.
so most of the commanders that you named are not that interesting. The specialized ones are the most interesting ones because it just gives you options throughout the draft. You don't have to stick to something immediately. Um, so looking at this pack for white for the white black deck here, Vampire Spawn is probably the card he's considering, which he's
Hey,
about to pick.
you can get Devour Intellect along with the Intellect Devourer.
I mean, it's a
Little
flavor
brain.
win, I suppose, but Devour Intellect, I remember not being what you wanted to do in the
No,
format.
it's just big. It's just big brained. That's all.
And so Dawnbringer Cleric is a reasonable sideboard card. I mean, we are playing best of three here. So this Divine Smite, I believe it phases out something, but if it's red or black, it just exiles it. If I'm not
Divine
mistaken.
Smite.
Yeah, it's an uncommon. He's about to scroll back up. Yeah, it's a target creature or planeswalker phases out if that is black. Oh no, just if it's black. So it's a color. So
There was
it's a
a
color hoser for black.
phasing out became like a 1 or 2 cards per set kind of thing. They might have started with AFR here in
The
the latest sets.
Yeah, I remember the in M21 there was Teferi that had phasing, and since
Oh
then
yeah.
they've returned to it periodically now and then.
Mm-hmm.
So again, best card for his deck is probably the Vampire Spawn, but not an option unfortunately. So he'll have to look elsewhere. Um,
Yeah, what's interesting.
Looks like he's going to take the Veteran Dungeoneer. I mean, it's a 4 mana 3/4 that comes in and usually scries one. Um, usually.
We saw Krydle there. I know Krydle's never really lived up to what it looks like, but as a commander, I wonder.
Yeah, it could be good as a commander, but the other decks might just be doing more powerful things.
True.
But it has potential, I would say. And I don't think anybody opened it in their starter packs here. Um, I know people
No.
were opening test packs before, and it came up. So the Rangers Hawk here, very 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 slow value engine here to repeatedly go into the dungeon. He's already put it in the sideboard.
Having
Uh,
your colors past you is super important, it seems, in this. You're real stuck with the well with the specialized, I guess you're not totally stuck, but he seems to be going down the white black path pretty
yeah, he
well.
he he committed to it pretty early. Um, to the point where he opened the workshop war chief and didn't feel like he was in a position to be able to play it. So now he's looking at Viconia and all of its options. These specialized cards really are, they do a number on the brain here.
You played enough of this draft, you kind of see the same ones often, but you don't see them in every color often.
I kind of know like the best version of each of them. So I know like Viconia, the best one was the blue side. But I don't know. I don't know all of them
Like
off by
they're
heart.
pretty.
Okay, so he's determined there's no white or black card he wants to take. So he's looking at Air Cult Elemental here. Good blue card. He has a couple other blue cards, so probably not planning on playing blue, but at least keeping his options open. I mean, there's
Yeah, this is
always the
one of the
chance
better
that he
blue
just
cards.
opens a busted gold card in some other combo. Uh, you know, he might
This
have a
is
few.
pre nerfs and buffs, so blue is not as strong.
Yeah.
Well, this is AFR actually. I guess it doesn't affect AFR. It only affects
If you
Baldur
see his
Gate.
sideboard, he's dragged some blue cards over to the side as well as the blue black card that he has, the snooping newsy. So he's you know keeping some options open here. Looks like he's just going to take this Earth Cult Elemental out of the draft. Nothing much
Could be good for
for
someone's
him there.
deck.
Yeah, when you ramp into that card, it can be annoying and hard to deal with. Deadly Dispute seems right up his alley.
Yeah, $2 common,
Is it?
something like that, or it
Wow.
was.
Yeah, so with
No
Thieves
one,
Tools
no one
here.
drafted this in paper.
Yeah, so Thieves Tools here. We'll see if he thinks he wants to play it or not. Makes
Might
a
have to make.
treasure.
Yeah,
Treasure's less important in this where you're not splashing.
blood money lets you splash on turn 10 or something.
Yeah, it's unlikely he's going to see a 3-color commander. In Ikoria, I think they had some at Mythic, but New Capetta was the set where you were going to really potentially be able to get one.
They had some at Mythic, but they could be mutated for 2 colors. I believe is
Uh,
how they were designed.
yeah, but the color identity is still 3 colors.
Yeah,
But yeah, in
but you
Ikoria,
don't
you could
put
play
out
them
three
in a two
colors.
color deck. Dungeon Crawler here, I believe that it came back to your hand after you completed a dungeon from the graveyard. So I mean, he has a few dungeon cards here. I don't think it's not something to
Mhm.
build around, but they might do. He might decide that together they do enough to play them.
I remember playing that set. It's not easy to
Well,
just play one.
well, he has opened an on-color bomb about one of the best things he could ask for, which is this
Yep.
Firja's Retribution that makes a 4/4 angel. It then basically kills a creature, and I believe it will gain double strike on the next turn. So this is really it was a bomb in that set. It's going to be great here. Um, just exactly what
No
he's
read
looking
ahead.
for. So he did take a risk by zeroing in on two colors pretty fast, but he found
Pretty
something
lucked
here
out
that's
to
going to
get
be
that,
real good.
I must say. He always knew he'd open it. It's all good.
All right, let's see what else we got here. So that rare is not very exciting. The Reckless Crew. He might be looking at Village Rights. If he wanted a Deadly Dispute, he might want a Village Rights.
Not a terrible idea.
I think he's checking his creature types here because there's that Skemfar Shadow Sage. When it comes in, you either gain life or opponent loses life equal to whatever the highest creature type you have is.
Yeah, I don't think that's probably it's probably not
Yeah,
going to work too.
his creatures look all over the place.
This isn't Shattered Tribes.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a 4 mana 2/5 that at most X is going to be 2 a lot of the time. Which is still a card that you can put in your deck. Maybe he's thinking
See,
he can wheel the Village Rights and take a different card here.
the Gold Maw Champion's all right for aggro plan, but we'll see
Yeah,
if
it's
he.
it's it's mana intensive, but it can do the
Yeah.
trick. Yeah, it looks like he's gonna go for the Shadow Sage here. Um,
Between
so
the two, it looks like. Oh, he
no,
went for the
he settled on the
Gold Maw.
Gold Maw Champion here. Now look at
Oh,
these cards.
Svella.
You got Svella, which was one of my favorite cards to draft. Burgi, which is another very very strong card. And for him, it looks like he's gonna have to take one of these white cards here.
Story Seeker, all right. Jarl could be all right.
Yeah.
Master Scald could be all right.
So the Master Scald got you back an enchantment from your graveyard as long as you had a creature in your graveyard to exile. So the only
He does have a
enchantments I see here, I see the Saga, but I don't see any other enchantments thus far. So that one might not
yeah.
be great. I mean, he could still speculate on it. He might just want the 2/2 lifelink though.
Yeah, the Scald was better in the set with a lot. I forget exactly why, but there were a lot of
Yeah.
enchantments that ended up being good.
If somebody's not locked into a commander and sees this fella, like that could be big business for somebody. That card's
That's a
really
good
very
point.
very very strong. So it looks like he's going to take the Jarl of the Forsaken here, which is one of those creatures that can destroy a creature that's been dealt damage, and it has foretell.
That Svella just might change the direction of this whole draft for someone.
Yeah, could be if it's not too late, right? We don't know exactly how hard people went in on colors. We know Sawyer pretty much from pick 3 or 4 just decided to do this white black. Other people may have stayed open for longer. So here he has the choice between the Master Scald, which we see he can't do much with yet, and the Carfelt Kennel Master, which I
You
kind of have
remember
a
that
soft spot for since
one.
in the Call Time League I did have 3 of those in my deck that did manage to get in the top 8. But it's a really really good curve topper for an aggro deck, and it looks like his deck is trying to be at least assertive. Uh, giving 2 creatures the ability to attack into anything uh, is pretty great. Again, if you want it. Yeah. So just a note on that land, the X-Guard Armory. Since we're looking at color identity, despite the fact that it taps for white, he would not be able to play that in a white black deck because it has red symbols there.
Okay, it's considered a Boros
Yeah,
card.
exactly. Yeah, so he's got the Raise the Draugr here. Again, looking at his creature types, I think it's going to be hard for him to get back 2 creatures with the Raise the Draugr.
That share a creature type. He
Yeah,
does
so
have a
it's either get
little
back
spell.
1 or get back 2 that share a type.
Not much looking good here in Kaldheim in terms of synergy. Obviously there's a snow deck in that format, so it's going to make things a little weird.
Yeah, we noted after a practice draft that Kaldheim was the second weakest one after Strixhaven. But Kaldheim does have the dual lands at common, and there are, the sagas and other things are powerful. So, um, nobody made too big a stink about it, even though it was by clearly the second to worst one, and by group consensus, Strixhaven got swapped out for Ikoria, which I believe is coming up next in our draft here. All right, so
Not
the Skullrend is a good card advantage card. He doesn't have too much card draw, or well, I mean, it can be a 2-for-1. It's a 2-for-1 no matter what. So the
much
Colas
safe.
Faithful here.
It mills, which there's a little benefit to milling here. Viconia, dig up the body, mills more. He never ended up taking Raise the Jogger, which probably was a fine choice. But
Yeah.
is there any benefit to filling the graveyard besides from
Well, Viconia, right? Because it knows
besides
both
that?
players. It knows both players when it dies, so can grab stuff. I mean, he has dig up the body for his own graveyard. He has. No, don't think he has too much. He does have a Raise the Jogger. He did find one. So he has the choice between Dread Rider or Way Down here. So Way Down is efficient removal, but you do need a creature in your graveyard to cast it. Dread Rider is kind of a clunky card. It's a 3/7, which
Game
means
stall out.
it's not getting attacked for 2 on the ground. But
Game stall out. It could be strong, but it just depends.
yeah, it's a way to get in some damage here. And just as another reminder for Brawl, the players do start at 25 life rather than 20 in Brawl. So that does matter. All right. The only card for him is the Infernal Pet, which was not very appealing in its original
No,
set,
that's in
and
there.
is
Look at that.
likely to appeal to. I guess nobody's playing green red because that Svella came back. I
All
don't know if I
right.
was in the spot and I saw Svella, I'd be tempted if it was feasible
Pack
to play
4.
into that.
So
Yeah, what a shame. That card was a really fun card to cast, and it was different. It was like usually the Gruul cards or the Gruul Gold card is just like, play a big creature, pump the stats or whatever. And this was actually a more of a control-y card, if anything, a ramp card. So that card was
come
very,
that
very
out
fun
on
to
turn 3 every game.
yeah, like play it on turn 3, start ramping, start playing stuff for free. Uh, I can't say I'm not sad that somebody didn't take that and at least
Funny,
put it in their deck.
Gruul's usually a deck to look out for in the Megadraft, but here we are.
Right, so here's the Ikoria pack. Strangely enough, the most appealing card might be on the bottom right there, the Scoured Barons.
Scoured Barons, I saw that. Boot Nippers, never bad. Mutual Destructions, usually.
I mean,
is that just one mana?
We're playing 60 card decks, which means they're going to be in the 25, land range or so. And any piece of fixing you can get is excellent, right? Like, even in regular limited, like a 9/8 mana base is bad. So, like, it just gets much worse even when you're looking at 24, 25, or 26 lands. Maybe the Scout Barons will wheel if nobody else is playing white-black.
The only people that want it are the Orzhov, or I don't think there's people speculating anymore. Or 3 colors, maybe.
Yeah, somebody might have got a 3-color card that involves white and black somewhere along the line. Yeah, Boot Nipper doesn't stand out to me as like a premium card. It's a good 2-drop, but the fixing is very important as well. Maybe he'll wheel it.
24 cards in the main board here. I'm sure there's some on the bottom that he's speculating on, but you need to hit something like 36.
Yeah, he actually moved the Blood Money, that 7-mana board wipe, out of his main deck. So it looks like he's not planning to run that. Best card here for him by a lot is the Divine Arrow. Just, kill an attacking or blocking creature, 4 damage for 2 mana.
The rest is real unappealing. Was there a big butt deck in this? 1/5 and 1/4?
There was the white green had some toughness things, if I recall.
Okay. Vigilant. That's something that made big butts attack with their butt.
Well, there's
snare technician memories.
Yeah, and there was a Flourishing Fox in the first pack. We're reminiscing on the cycling deck, which thankfully no one's going to be displaying here today. Deadweight, very efficient, kills a small creature.
Yep.
Can also kill a larger creature after combat if they've blocked.
Now let's take a look at that Genesis Ultimatum wheels. I'm gonna guess yes.
Bushmeat Poacher, that seems right up his alley for what he's trying to do. He has a bunch of little creatures, sack them, and this one actually gains life, sometimes quite a lot of life. So that is another card that cared about toughness right there.
Ooh, nice
Ooh,
cards here.
yeah, Grim Dancer was a premium card. Um, Surprised that came to him pick 5.
3 mana, 3/3 with 2 counters it gets?
Yeah, so you can choose Lifelink, Death Touch, Menace. You get 2 of those.
That is pushed. That's Jewel Thief levels.
Yeah, well, it's an uncommon. It's harder to cast, but yeah, no, that,
Yep.
that card was
Doesn't
extremely
give you a
efficient.
treasure.
Uh, as far as a 3 mana creature, can't get too much more efficient at uncommon than that. So Memory Leak was a good card in its format. Again, Mythos of Luna is a card I love in Cube, but and I think any blue player would want it, but unfortunately, it's actually a teamer card because of the red and
Oh
green
no.
symbols in its text. So you can't
Oh,
just
it's
put it in your blue white deck or blue black deck or even blue green deck. Um, Card is strong, but
Memory Link.
unfortunately, because it's 3 colors, can't be used.
Memory Leak, very importantly, has 1 colorless mana to cycle it, so it's like gonna be just fine no matter what.
Yeah, that's one of the main deckable hand disruption cards because a lot of them are either cyborg cards or too expensive a lot of the time. So that's one that you can absolutely play because it has cycling.
Yeah, 1 mana colorless cycling is kind of the idea of this entire format, Ikoria.
Yeah, so going into our last pack here of Dominaria, I think he does need to increase his overall power level, I would say. Um, Outside of a couple of his rares, um, his cards are pretty pretty flat power level across the board. Again, there's some standouts, but his commander is not. The cards in his deck aren't making his commander better because his commander's not like either one that he chooses is not really a synergy commander. They're just good on
Yeah.
their own. Um, that was what we saw in the league, right? Like those commanders
Yeah.
where every bullet you added was just made your commander insanely better, like the Jan Jansen, the Polar Bear, and whatnot. Um, so here, because his commanders aren't really pushing him to do anything specific, his picks are not making his commander better, which means that the cards that he's picking need to be, stronger. I would say, and he hasn't seen a high power level across the board of cards. So here's looking at a couple of decent creatures here. The Cavern Whisper was always like pretty good card. 4/4 menace, make your opponent discard a card. Like can't really go wrong with that one. He does
Mutate
need
is
he does need a bit more top end here, and I think that's exactly the kind of top end he wants.
seems like a fine card to pick up. It's a 4-drop if you mutate, right?
Yeah.
Pretty
So
nice.
the dinosaur is good too, but I don't think it's really giving him. It's really adding much to his deck. I think the Cavern Whisper is adding a lot more here.
I'm not gonna mutate it many times, obviously, but
No, I think it's his only mutate, but still good. Parcel Beast. I guess nobody's found themselves a green blue deck. That card is very good. Yeah,
I
the
like.
Dranath Healer is just a 2/2 effectively with cycling, which he's put into his sideboard. I mean, a 2/2 with cycling is still good. Like late in the game, a lot of times you don't want a 2 mana 2/2. Just cash it in for whatever the next card in your
Pay
deck
1
is.
to make your deck 59 cards.
Yeah, I'm surprised he put in his sideboard so quickly. I mean, maybe he's sort of set on his cards, but
How
yeah,
many cards are not seen here on the main deck? It's a handful at least,
yeah, anything that
in
has
black and white.
cycling should at least be considered, I suppose. Don't think he's going to play either of these white cards here. Flourishing Fox again was a cycling all star in constructed and in limited.
It goes.
Well,
It,
there's a 1/5.
throw it in there.
It's a nightmare pangolin. That's what that is. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I think he needs to increase his overall power level here going into the last pack. Well, nobody's teamer either because the Genesis Ultimatum and the Mythos is probably still going
Probably
around
could have
too.
guessed that one already.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's taking the land, which in a lot of cases, you take a land and you maybe splash something, but not so much in this format.
No one wants the almighty brushwag.
Well, I mean, if you're trying to attack, that card is pretty effective at its job. But let's see if he can get something real interesting here in our last pack. Well, you got a cast down. That's
There.
that kills. It doesn't kill opposing commanders, but kills just about everything else you're going to come across.
It is a big hit that it doesn't get the commanders, whichever one's running, but yeah, it's still great.
Yeah, it's still good. Uh, Also, Blessed Light. Despite, I mean, 5 mana is plunky, but it does exile the thing. So
A
that is a
Davenant
card.
Trapper could be useful to someone. You always have your legendary as a historic card.
Yeah, the Davenant Trapper. Yeah, you're not gonna have too many historic cards in the deck. Like I see, he has a Saga, he has a couple artifacts, and he's gonna have not too many legendaries in his deck, right? He's gonna run Viconia or Rasad as his commander, and that might be the only other legendary in his
Yeah,
deck.
it's not gonna. You can't just make a historic deck like in Dominaria, but you have one guaranteed, I guess.
Right, Knight of Malice is like again about as good as a 2-drop as you're gonna find at uncommon here.
They kind of reprinted those for this upcoming Dominaria set. Their
Yeah,
successors.
it seems every time that they go to Dominaria, they print a black and a black and a white knight at uncommon with first strike and some other ability. Yeah, Knight of Malice
What else do
again.
we have?
It's almost always going to be a 3/2 because he's playing white,
Yep.
so it counts white cards in play on either side. Deathbloom's Ballad seems like a really good 3-drop. Soul Salvage could be a consideration um, if he feels he has enough creatures. Because Deathbloom's Ballad, I mean, it's good, but it's replaceable. Most creatures can do something similar, but Soul Salvage does something unique.
I
He does
feel like
have Raise the
Soul Salvage
Jogger,
might.
but Raise the Jogger is not always guaranteed to get back 2 things.
Soul
So
Salvage might be good if this becomes dirtily.
yeah, we'll see
How's
what
he
he
doing on 3
decides.
drop?
I would imagine those are the 2 cards he's considering. So we'll see what conclusion he comes to. It looks like Soul Salvage is going to be the pick here. Just again as a unique effect, his deck doesn't have that much card advantage, so that can help him win a longer game. As it stands, his deck is not like super well equipped to go to the late game, but that at least gives him a bit of play. Not too much for him here. There's a short sword if he feels he wants it. There's the Benelish Honor Guard, which I guess if you play your commander on curve, that thing always becomes a 3/2, which is not
Yeah.
that much of an accomplishment.
White black with all of our legendaries. Hey, yeah, there's a white black commander too that buffs all legendaries.
Yeah, Arvad the Cursed, I believe. All other
And it gives
legendaries
that.
get +2/+2. Yeah. But again, he doesn't have any legends except for whichever
Commander.
specialist card he doesn't
The
manage to
commander.
run. Yeah. Adamant Will is a nice trick.
Could make
Divest
the deck.
could be a card he wants. Probably not.
Not too much choice. You don't
Yeah,
want to take divest.
Sergeant at Arms is pretty medium here. Yeah, I know you
The
don't.
shield never. They never work.
That shield it's irritating to play against, but in the end, it's not that great. But I will say it's irritating.
Adamant Will can come in handy for sure.
No, Rat Colony. Rat Colony is actually a card that gets around the singleton rule, but I don't think we need to spend too much time talking about that as a second one
Hey,
appears.
there it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think that's what. I don't. I wouldn't consider that a viable strategy. But again, it does get around the singleton rule. So Blessing of Bells and Luck is kind of interesting. That's a card that you would very rarely put in your deck in Dominaria. You put it in the sideboard, but it does stand to
Yeah.
reason that it will always be on if it's in your opening hand. You'll always be able to get the legendary bonus. Um,
That's
as
a pretty interesting choice
yeah,
here. A 3-1 or basically a 3-2 since you're playing a commander almost every time after it.
yeah, I doubt he would end up putting either. So one thing we haven't seen come up, but it actually did come up in our practice draft for me was I'm a person who has played a lot of Commander, and if you find a card in the draft that is bad in most situations but works well with your commander, it's actually right to put it in your deck because you always have access to your commander. We didn't see that come up here, but that is just another thing to keep in mind if he had a synergy-driven commander.
Is
So
this
he's
the
got,
last pack right here? Pack
yeah, yeah,
6?
yeah. This is gonna be our last pack. Once the draft is wrapped up, we'll take a pause and we'll come back and look at all the pools. So we'll see if anybody opens some cool rare commanders, or we'll see the directions people took. Looking
Thought
at this deck
Gyro's
here,
familiar.
it's clear that he is an aggressive deck. He wants to play creatures early. Oh, a Deathboot Thalic came back, so that's very good for him. That is going to make his deck actually. So he wants to interact cheaply. He has some combat tricks. He has some good attacking creatures. 2 drops that can get some amount of value, either trade up or be hard to block, and hopefully take over the game with. I would guess he's going to run the Viconia, but Rasad is a good one too.
Yeah, it's funny. We're not quite sure which is going to be the commander at this point in time.
Yeah,
For
neither.
Sad's removal, though, you don't usually. I think it's probably better to curve out with your commander, if possible, instead
Yeah,
of have it as a removal in the back end.
yeah. He I could see him running either. But regardless of which one he runs, it's clear that he wants to be the assertive player. He wants to get a 2-drop in play. He wants to get a 3-drop in play, whether that's his commander or not. We'll see. And I don't think he wants the game to go too late based on what we see at the top of his curve. The Carfell
Yeah.
Candlemaster and the Whisper, those are aggressive curve toppers. The Dread Rider, a bit of a slow card, but it can push through damage once the board is a little clogged. So that's Sawyer's draft. So we're gonna take a pause here, and we're gonna come back in a few moments with some player pools.